In the previous episode of this series, we saw Rex White take his first championship over the giants of Petty Enterprises. So today, we're going to take a look at the 1961 season with a consistent points format. In the 1961 season, we had 9 full-time drivers: Richard Petty, defending champion Rex White, Ned Jarrett, Junior Johnson, Emmanuel Zervakis, Jimmy Perdue, Curtis Kreider, Bug Baker, and Herman Beam. In the opening 10 races, we had only 2 full-time winners. Defending champion Rex White won the race at Weaverville, and Emmanuel Zervakis won the race at Greenville. So after the first 10 races, Rex White seemed to pick up right where he left off and would have a huge 315-point lead over Ned Jarrett. Over the next 10 races, Rex White would be super consistent, having 8 top 10s and 6 top 5s, including 2 wins at North Wilkesboro and Winston-Salem. So after 20 races into the season, Rex White was already the championship frontrunner, with a massive 440-point lead over Ned Jarrett. Fast forward 3 races to race 24 at the World 600 in Charlotte. Rex and Ned would score the same amount of points, flatlining the gap to 440 points. At Spartanburg, Jarrett finished 5th and White finished 10th, shrinking the gap to 419 points. At Birmingham, Jarrett won the race while White finished 4th and shrunk the gap to 399 points. At Greenville, Jarrett finished 2nd and White finished 8th, shrinking the gap to 361 points. At Winston-Salem, Rex White would fire back with a win, while Jarrett finished 6th, increasing the deficit to 391 points. At Norwood, White finished 2nd and Jarrett finished 3rd, growing the gap to 396 points. At Hartsville, White finished 3rd and Jarrett finished 6th, and after 30 races, Jarrett has failed to make any sort of huge gain on Rex White. So at this point in the season, this would be Rex White's championship to lose. At Roanoke, White finished 2nd and Jarrett finished 11th, growing the gap to 451 points. At Daytona, Jarrett finished 12th and White finished 23rd, reducing the gap to 418 points. At Atlanta, Jarrett finished 14th while White finished 10th and grew the gap to 431 points. At Columbia, Jarrett finished 3rd and White finished 14th, shrinking the gap to 387 points. At Myrtle Beach, Jarrett finished 3rd and White finished 10th, shrinking the gap to 351 points. At Bristol, Jarrett finished a solid 3rd while White had a horrid day, finishing in 25th, and the gap significantly shrunk to 279 points. At Nashville, Ned Jarrett once again took a large chunk out of White's lead with a 3rd place finish, while White finished 23rd, and the gap was now 203 points. At Winston-Salem, White would stop the bleeding with a win and Jarrett finished 3rd, increasing the gap to 218 points. At Weaverville, White finished 2nd and Jarrett finished 3rd, growing the gap to 223 points. At Richmond, Jarrett finished 2nd, White finished 4th, and with 12 races to go, Jarrett was finally able to make significant ground, and now the question was, could he continue this run of form and potentially take the title away from Rex White? At South Boston, Jarrett finished 3rd and White finished 5th, closing the gap to 203 points. At the Southern 500, Jarrett finished 6th and White finished 10th, closing the gap to 187 points. At Hickory, White would fire back with a win while Jarrett finished 8th, and the gap grew to 215 points. At Richmond, White finished 3rd and Jarrett finished 4th, slightly increasing the gap to 220 points. Fast forward 2 races to Atlanta, where Jarrett finished 7th and White finished 18th, shrinking the gap to 183 points. At Martinsville, White had a solid day, finishing in 2nd, while Jarrett finished in 13th, growing the gap to 229 points. At North Wilkesboro, Rex White would make a statement and win, while Ned Jarrett finished 5th, and the gap was now 259 points. At Charlotte, Rex White finished 5th, while Jarrett finished in 18th, and grew the gap to 305 points. And with this race, this cushion would be good enough to lock up the championship 3 races early, and this would give Rex White his 2nd consecutive championship. In 1961, Rex White would claim his 2nd championship, and for the first time since the 1951 video, we had a different champion. In real life, Ned Jarrett would claim his 1st title, but in 1961, Rex White would just simply outduel him and dominate the season. And with this, Rex White was now a 2-time champion in the NASCAR Cup Series. Well, that'll do it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for 1962.